Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. The plan this morning is to finish chapter 27. And there's just 2 verses, 26 and 27. So there's a festival going on. And as the festival is going on, Braja is responding. The different living entities and the land and everything. Text 27. No, text 26. Rivers flowed with various kinds of tasty liquids. Trees exuded honey. Edible plants came to maturity without cultivation, and hills gave forth jewels formerly hidden in their interiors. No BBT purport. Here's Vishwanath, very short. The rivers flowed with various tastes, such as milk. Without cultivation, the plants yielded mature grains and fruits. The mountains, not too many mountains in Braja, the mountains manifested excellent jewels. Jiva Goswami. It should be understood from this description that whatever was outstanding in Vrindavan now became even more so and even spread to the three worlds. Sanatana Goswami writes, previously in Vrindavan only the trees flowed with honey. Now this happened on the whole earth. The rivers flowed with various tasty liquids such as milk, etc. Text 27. O Parikshit, beloved of the Kuru dynasty, upon the ceremonial bathing of Lord Krishna, all living creatures, even those cruel by nature, became entirely free from enmity. Purport. Those corrupted by a type of sophisticated cynicism may mock these descriptions of a paradisical world situation effected simply by worshipping the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, modern man has created a hell on earth in his cynical rejection of heaven on earth, which is actually possible through Krsna consciousness. The situation described here, created simply by the auspicious bathing ceremony of the Lord, is an authentic historical incident. Since history repeats itself, there is hope that the Krsna consciousness movement may again bring the world community to the brilliant reality of self-realized existence. Vishwanath. All living entities gave up their natural animosities towards each other and became friends. Jiva Goswami. Not only good qualities appeared, but bad qualities were destroyed. Those creatures famous for innate cruelty by their natures, or violent with each other, such as snakes and mongooses. Mongooses. You know what a mongoose is? They're naturally vicious. I don't know I never met one. All became friends, just as when Krishna was born. And the reference here is 10.3.8, that's Krishna's appearance. However, this is always so in Vrindavan. O son of the Kurus, you are pleased with this, O child. This is said out of great wonder, out of ecstasy of prema, or out of compassion. And Sanatana Goswami writes, similar to others, or they're similar to his. Not only good qualities appeared, but natural bad qualities were destroyed. This means that they all showed dedication to the Lord. Similar language from... Why did the Lord, who was absorbed in secret sweet pastimes, show powers like this? Answer. All the world attains bliss because of the nature of this Abhishek. They could not prevent it. Because this is the nature of Vrindavan, at all times, sweet pastimes only are accomplished there. O son of the Kurus, at the time of your birth was a great bliss also, and lack of enmity, though there was lamentation for the destruction of the dynasty. Okay, then text 28, and we're finished with the chapter. After he had ceremonially bathed Lord Govinda, who was the master of the cows and the cowherd community, King Indra took the Lord's permission and, surrounded by the demigods and other higher beings, returned to his heavenly abode. No BBT purport. Jiva Goswami writes, though he was an offender, his offerings were accepted by the Lord. He bathed Govinda, who was naturally the Lord of the cows and Gokula. By doing this, he did not attain eminence, but produced benefit for the world and himself. His benefit is described. He took permission from Govinda. Previously, he was almost rejected because he was an offender, but now he was surrounded by devatas who accepted him. He then went to Swarga. His pastime was discussed in Braja later by his friends. Since they understood by the special features of the place and his dress, or saw from far off while hiding. In joy and astonishment, Indra understood that Krishna was the master of the cows and Gokula and was also his master. Padma Purana says that Nanda, Yashoda, and others came there also, that they were watching this Abhishek. This is the statement from Padma Purana. The elder cowherds and women saw Indra. Being worshipped by him, they attained the highest bliss. But since verse 2 of this chapter says that Indra met Krishna in a solitary place, the Padma Purana description is from another kalpa. Sanatana Goswami. In the manner described, Indra bathed Krishna, the master of cows, and everyone in Gokula. He bathed him as Govinda, because he was the master of the cows and Gokula. Though the word Gokula includes the cows are mentioned separately to indicate their importance. Thus they are mentioned first. He is known as Govinda because, as master of the cows, Gokula Patim, he knows Vinda, the cows, go. Because the name Govinda is especially related to the Abhishek, it hints of the relationship with Indra. Though he was an offender, he wanted to leave quickly and thus took permission. Surrounded by the devatas and sages, he left for Swarga. Surabhi, however, remained there in association with her offspring, the cows, since Mathura and Braja are one with Goloka, her place. Their non-differences explained in Bhagavatamrita. That's Sanatana Goswami's Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So that the non-difference between Surabhi from the heavenly realm and Surabhi from Mathura, the cows from Braja and Mathura. Adibi, it's a word in the verse 28, can also include Surabhi. Though she did not want to go, she is not mentioned directly or separately as going, out of respect. So one version is she stayed, another version is she adibihi, she along with the others she also went. The assistants of the Lord, the cowherds, were not present at this time. Verse 2 of this chapter says that Indra met Krishna in a solitary place. Thus, they did not know about this event. That's why there was some mention they were hiding behind the bushes, because they was in a secret place. And somehow later they spoke about the event, the Abhishek of Indra. Thus they did not know about this event, because the cowherds did not speak about it. It was not well known in Braja. Nowhere else is it mentioned. Verse 18, so this is 28 of chapter 27. In verse 18, it mentions that Surabhi came with her offspring. And verse 19 mentions we, meaning other cows. Thus, though they came and saw Indra at the festival, they considered it astonishing to see the greatness of the Lord. Here's Padma Purana with this other kalpa description. The elder cowherds and women saw Indra. Being worshipped by him, they attained the highest bliss. In that case, because Nanda and Yashoda did not come there, the others did not speak about it in Vraja. And the conclusion is more or less the same. This is Vishwanath. After he had ceremonially bathed Lord Govinda, who is the master of the cows and the cowherd community, King Indra took the Lord's permission and, surrounded by the demigods and other higher beings, returned to his heavenly abode. End of this nice Leela. Govinda. Govinda, Gopal. He is the protector and gives pleasure to all these different entities within Braja, particularly the cows, but also the land. Land means everything that grows from the land as well. And the senses, one who gives pleasure and maintains, protects. So it looked like this event with Indra was going to finish them. And who knows what the experience, we don't hear, because cows, at least here the cows aren't talking. Surabhi's talking, but the other cows. So what they were experiencing when this inundation took place must have been very fearful. But at the same time, they felt protected. It gives us a little insight in those who are experiencing transcendence or transcendental reality. In one sense, there's no fear. In another sense, there's a different kind of fear. There's a transcendental kind of fear that impels taking deeper shelter of Krishna. And that's a nice fear, or it's a transcendental fear. It's an ecstatic emotion. Just meditating on the subjective experience or emotional experience of the residents of Vrindavan. Of course, all variegated because there's different rasas, etc. Like Balaram. When Krishna was lifting the Govardhan hill, Balaram was not at all astonished. But when the hill started trembling, Balaram knew why. And he was smiling. And Krishna was glancing over the gopis and feeling ecstasy looking over the gopis. Krishna's hands started to tremble and Balaram was smiling. So he is the original spiritual master, Balaram, and his expansion or counterpart, Lord Nityananda, original spiritual master. And as such, he has a profound understanding of Krishna. It's all very mysterious. At the same time, for Krishna's pleasure, for example, Balaram took opposition to Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra and wanted to go send the Yadu army to go finish him. And so but he wouldn't do something like that without checking with Krishna, and Krishna had him do a complete reversal. So he'll do things that look like opposition to Krishna, but they're not in opposition to Krishna. It's just part of a loving exchange that doesn't move in a straight line. It's described, the loving relation of the residents of Vrindavan. It moves like a snake moves from point A to point B. The snake doesn't go zoom, it goes. So the dealings of love in Vraja are like that. I mean, it's not a nice comparison in one sense, but it does the job. The loving exchange doesn't move in a A to B line, straight line. The shortest distance. It's variegated in many, many ways. But it's all for the pleasure of Krishna. So what looks like calamity then later turns into ecstasy and so forth. To mundane inspection, it's very puzzling. And similarly, the emphasis that's being made just before the closure of the chapter, the abundance by this having worshipped Krishna with Abhishek the way that it was done, the whole of Vraja became abundant, and some commentary says the whole world became abundant in ways that Vraja is normally abundant. Vraja's abundance increased in the world also. So it's the one of the principal understandings from the Bhagavatam is you water the root and all the branches, leaves and twigs and everything becomes nourished with water. Similarly, by pleasing Krishna, everything becomes bountiful because Krishna is being honored and worshipped and respected properly. Now, to say that doesn't mean there's never calamity, because there's calamity, and from time to time that would come even in Vraja. But Krishna was always there, and the calamity would turn to something wonderful. The removal of inauspicious things. In our case, that's what's going on. There's inauspicious things, abhadras or anarthas, unwanted things. And by hearing, there's a contentment, there's a happiness, there's a sense of connection and protection. And at the same time, there's this residual turmoil that we go through because we're attached to the temporary. And that's just fine. And sometimes that attachment, the temporary, just overwhelms the happiness. We're not feeling any happiness or peace of mind because we're problem solving and absorbed in the temporary. But it's temporary. And that subsides, and then some happiness comes, and we think, oh, that's nice to feel that happiness. But if it's self-centered, if it's not, because just reading and hearing Krishna's pastimes, it just moves attention by sound again and again to the personality of Godhead. And then moves on to the next Leela and the next Leela and the next Leela. And one can learn, by regular hearing, one can learn the contrast between happiness that's permanent and happiness that's temporary, or distress that's transcendental and distress that's mundane. It's not an academic understanding, it's a from the heart understanding. The good news is that this sound vibration acts on the heart, even we're very covered, not recognizing it. It's acting on the heart. And other faculties, the mind and intelligence and so on, senses. But it's cleansing the soul. Understanding or not understanding, it's cleansing the soul. And one can at least feel when the soul is becoming cleansed or is further cleansed, there's a experience of the world around you that's different. It's still the world around you, but your experience of the world around you, there's a shift from the inside. Okay. So we'll carry on hearing, starting, well, tomorrow we'll start chapter 28. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll start going forward hearing something from Canto 7, Lord Nrsingadev. So see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So we always heard about Krishna, Balaram. So Subhadra never comes in the picture. So no childhood pastimes mentioned anywhere.
Only the celebrated marriage of Subhadra. Other than that, I'm not aware of others.
And I have a couple of questions from the discussion I was having with my family member yesterday.
Okay.
So he's my brother, and he was very curious, so wanted to ask you. So his question was when we pray to Krishna, like as we are Hindus and we grew up in a family where Krishna, we believe in Krishna. So what we go if we get at that level, we can go to a spiritual world, let's say.
Okay.
But what about people who believe in Christian, who are very good Christians or very good Muslims? I know You mentioned that before, but I want to hear it.
Well, there's different responses that have been given. In the Hare Krishna video or movie, that one of the segments is an interviewer saying, "Are you have problems with other organizations and different views and different religious beliefs?" And Prabhupada was, "No. If the goal is to develop love of God, and if love of God is developed, then there's no difference or no conflict." Now, what is love of God? Like, who is he? Because you're going to love somebody, tell me about them. And so it's the language used both in Christianity and Islam is attain heaven. So that's likely what's going to happen. So is it a back to Godhead excursion? Well, there may be some very qualified persons that have love of God. And so if it's love of God and not just mode of goodness, then the spiritual world. And if it's not love of God, but it's mode of goodness, then it's heaven. And two other little messages. Rukmini, one of Prabhupada's disciples, asked Prabhupada, "Is there Christ Loka?" And Prabhupada said, "Why not? There's so many lokas. Why not Christ Loka?" He didn't say yes. Just gave a simple answer because she was 16 when she asked the question. And then there's another, I've mentioned this many times, but in early 1970s, our temple president, Rupanuga, wrote Prabhupada a letter, "What's the destination of a perfect Christian?" And Prabhupada said it's hard to find a perfect Christian. But if there were such a thing as a perfect Christian, his answer was they would achieve Brahmaloka, and from there they may continue, they may not also, but they may continue in their path of perfection and go back to Godhead. Which is similar to attain Swarga or heaven, but it's just upset a little bit to say Brahmaloka and then. So the real operative principle is finding someone that has achieved perfection. And the love God with all your heart, mind, and strength. When there's love of a person, then you know the person. You know the person in and out. Within your family, you know your family members in and out because you live with them. So, and vice versa, they know you in and out. So what's his, in another place Prabhupada says his name and address. I mean, that's short. It's because, so Krishna Loka. What's Krishna Loka like? What's the abode of God? What's the kingdom of God like? So they know. Then they go. Okay.
Thank you. And another was like we were talking about this.
You're on.
All the like all the liberations, all types of liberation.
Yeah.
So where in the Bhagavatam it's written that being devotee or going above Brahma Jyoti is it's important. Like which verse particularly?
Let me try to understand what your question is. You want to know where is it mentioned the 5 kinds of liberation within the Bhagavatam?
Yes, and devotional service is better than that.
Okay. I can't refer right now the which particular verse it says that. The understanding that Lord Chaitanya gave, and our acharyas repeat, is that there's 4 Vaishnav liberations, and the devotees are not aspiring for them. They're aspiring for simply love and service to the Supreme Lord, not I'll get this, that, or the other thing. Residence in the planet of the Lord, form like the Lord, opulences like the Lord. So that's not their aspiration. They want loving service to the Supreme Lord. So that's the prema message that we hear again and again. Particularly we're hearing it in this section. So the scriptural reference for the foundation for that is the unique position of the residents of Vrindavan, specifically, Braj, specifically. I'm sure there's. How about this? You do a little research. Do you have Folio in your computer? No. Huh? You're not that type of person.
I'm not a techie person. I don't know.
She'll look for the reference in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya touches on this topic and find the series of verses from scripture that speak on this topic that you're asking, and she'll forward it to you. Okay? Anyone?
Just on that point, Guru Maharaj.
Which one?
On this reference, I don't know.
Which?
Srimad Bhagavatam, it's quoted in Nectar of Devotion, Guru Maharaj, from 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verses 12 and 13. Kapila Dev is mentioning to Mother Devahoti.
Read it.
Pure devotees are not aspiring for any of these liberation.
Well, that was pretty quick.
We just had the Bhakti Shastri.
3, 29, 12, and 13? Huh?
Specifically 13. Specifically 13.
13. 13 plus. I see, okay. Okay. Anyone else here? Yes?
Guru Maharaj, as you were mentioning about that transcendental fear versus the other kind, what we experience, their fear is actually helping them go closer, take even deeper shelter of Krishna.
Yes.
I was thinking when we are in a space of some negative emotions, the heart is closed, even though we know we want to go take shelter. Probably there is the deeper sense that I want to connect, but externally the heart is kind of closed. In those circumstances, my specific question is, if you are doing some service, is it okay to say, Krishna, this is where I am and I'm offering, please accept, or try to pause, take time and calm down and come back to the service?
They're both good. And sometimes this may be suitable, sometimes that's suitable. They're both good. Do you have something? You look like you have something.
Similar. mean, the question is still I could not form or us. I mean, regarding the transcendental fear. I mean, when that fear comes, there may not be complete dependence on Krishna because of our attachments.
No, that's us.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, how to? I mean, I'm thinking about that question.
Okay.
How to form that?
How to reach transcendence.
That is.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
How to is reach transcendence. So you say then a negative. If you haven't reached transcendence, you won't experience it. As long as there's identification with the temporary, identification with the body and mind, and you're strapped on to illusion, and there you can't get there. So that illusion has to be removed. And how is illusion removed? By sound. It cleanses and lifts. I read something recently. Bhaktisiddhanta's very exceptional use of the English language. He says that the sound effaces the body and the mind. Efface is not a commonly used word in speaking, but a dictionary meaning, which is how Bhaktisiddhanta used words, is like gradual erosion or gradual removal. The common use is on a coin, the date on the coin becomes effaced over time. Rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. It's discernible if you really look carefully, but it's effaced. It's gone for practical purposes. So similarly, the influence of mind and intelligence becomes effaced. This negative emotion of fear connected to the misidentification with the body and misidentification with the mind, thinking about the welfare of the body and so forth. It becomes, by mantra, by sound, it becomes dissolved. Not your body disappears, but the identification with it disappears. And then transcendental emotion arises. And the material emotion is gone. It subsides and then it's gone. Effaced. It's like sound. Okay? Pass the microphone up. It's Sunday morning. We probably have a lot of questions. Not so many. A few.
Radha Kunjabihari Prabhu's question. I just heard, even though Indra was an offender, his offerings were accepted by the Supreme Lord.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, atonement should come first. What and how should that atonement be for a mundane person like me?
Well, what does Nectar Devotion say about atonement? Nectar Devotion says there's not a separate atonement needed. The atonement is continue in the process of hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. There's no separate atonement. I mean, there's some regret from within of the mistake or the wrongdoing or something, and go on with the purification.
This is from Rupa Vilas Prabhu. I was wondering, how do we know what is transcendental fear? Is the fear to avoid offense to devotees transcendental? Is the fear to fall down in Maya transcendental?
Well, it depends on who's at the center. And if we're at the center, then it's not transcendental. If Krishna is at the center, then it's transcendental. Very simple.
This Udayananda Prabhu. Maharaj, as suggested by you, I have gone through Bhagavad Gita 17:15 for austerity of speech yesterday. It was very helpful. Next, the question: how do I realize the level of cleanliness my soul underwent and how to further purify?
How do you measure the extent of purification the soul underwent?
Yeah.
What comes to mind is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. The extent to which you're always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna, that's the measure, that's the test. And how to go further, keep the purification going.
And this is Vishalaksha Prabhu. You have kindly mentioned that taking the deeper shelter of Lord Krishna, what it means at our sadhana bhakti level of practices to act.
Do you understand the question?
At sadhana bhakti level,
No, just say it again differently.
At sadhana bhakti level, what does taking deeper shelter mean?
From the heart as opposed to from the head. And you want to understand what from the heart means instead of from the head. There's several recordings on that topic, specifically just on that topic, so please listen to them.
And this is Radha Vallabha Prabhu. Instruction is to focus on pure sound vibration, hearing and chanting. So we should fully ignore the past impressions and distractions during our Krishna consciousness practice without trying problem-solving approach. I think that's all is written.
Okay. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki